John was working in his science lab, got blasted by gamma rays. Now he's Smash Trivia John, always smashing. He's friends with Ruffalo, crushing on Maslany, and also Sydney Sweeney. John's here saying, hello my gamma friends, welcome to the show, the Gamma Analysis Podcast.
Smash.
Hello, my Gamma friends, and welcome to the spooky season and to the show. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia. I'll be the one with a big old severed head, green head in the profile picture. And you can also check out my other show, Creepy and Kooky, a Wednesday Addams podcast where I review the Wednesday TV show and all things Addams Family with my friend Lilith the librarian. You can this is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, I'm gonna review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and I also do random other geeky films. Hope you enjoy Smash Cherry Presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening, please do sign for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Now let's smash right into this episode. Today's episode is a review of Satanic Panic with my friends from Twitter, Kira and Trelissa and Brayden at Brayden Saliva. I hope that I pronounce your last name correctly.
It's Silva, I think, isn't it?
Oh yeah, Silva.
Silva.
Yeah.
Silva.
It's like silver, but with an and that's what I think about it in my mind, which I've always thought is cool. Kind of reminds me of like Van Helsing.
I've gotten Sylvia a lot.
I think that's because that's another common surname, so that makes sense.
Okay. Nice. So I'll get to talk about this film. I love this film. It has it's got such a fun on satanic vibe to it. I mentioned off recording. Ever since watching this film, I've always wanted to find more and more similar films, just because I love the feel of this film so much. And I also like really loved not love but enjoyed the characters in this. Some of them are definitely not characters you want to love, but
I love them. Do I support their actions? Maybe not, but I do love them.
I really enjoyed this. Without like one thing without really getting into spoilers that I do dislike is that in one of the scenes there's use of the R slur. I do not like hearing that word in movies. So but other than that, I for the most part really enjoyed it. And though I would though I do wish there were more scenes with boobies.
I would say I also don't like hearing that word at all, you know what I mean? But I will say, suspending my disbelief, like I don't think, like, this is the type of movie where, again, you're not supposed to think that all these people are good people or support their actions. And obviously, like, I would prefer not hearing it, you know what I mean? But in the context of this movie, in the context of the scene she says it, and the person she is, and the people she's been raised by, and I think it does fit her character. That's the I believe that she would be saying slurs like that. I didn't like hearing it, but I'm also like, this. It didn't feel completely like out of nowhere. Like I would have liked it less if it was like completely out of character. If that made sense. Like if it was just like, why did that person say that? Whereas in this, I was like, well, I see why she said that because that's the kind of person she is.
Yeah, I understand like people's points for why they're okay with hearing slurs in movies. But my thing is like, unlike like say sign like say murder, where you can fake that in a movie.
Yeah.
They do have. They are. The actor is actually saying that.
I think that's a good point.
And I don't. And I just. I don't like that. That I don't blame the actor at all for it. But But I just really don't like ever hearing hearing slurs in movies. Another thing. Another thing in regards to slurs and is in this movie that I'm conflicted about is one of the characters' names is a slur against Romani people, and it's I'm so conflicted because I'm like,
it is also a common name.
Yeah, that's why I'm conflicted. I'm so conflicted. I'm like I don't I'm like part of me is like I don't like that's that name because I don't want to say that name because it is a slur, but also like I can't there are people who are named that in real life, and it's kind of rude to them if you're for you to not be willing to say their name and when you're talking to them.
Yeah, it's this. There's like the thing is that not all words are like even if they all are both slurs, not all words are equal, and not all words have the same context, and not all words are in the same being used in the same context. And so, like again, I don't like hearing it either. I would prefer if it hadn't happened, but at the same time, I'm not gonna like get up and storm out of the movie theater because this character we're not supposed to like said something we're not supposed to like. You know what I mean? And in kind of the same vein. Oh, what, Brayden?
No, I wanted to chime in. When it comes to slurs in movies and TV shows, to me, it depends on story context or character context, regardless of the intent of the writer. Because there's some writers who are, unless it comes to racial slurs, there are some writers who are racist. They like to talk about something a certain way, and then there are some times where some writers they don't want to talk about slurs, so they create fictional slurs to replace real slurs. And then,
which I think that's the better way to do
J.K.
it.
Rowling.
I think it's. I think it's better to do it in a way where it's a fictional slur and not like sign that's actually like a slur against real in real life.
Yeah, I guess I see what you mean.
It depends on the context for me of the setting. Like for example, in X-Men, there are fictional slurs for the mutants because obviously the mutants are an allegory for all oppressed people. But then real slurs exist because it's the Marvel universe, it's Earth. So real racism exists. So when an X-Men character calls a black man the N-word to make a point about slurs, it invalidates the metaphor of what's supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's the problem I have. So when Kitty Pryde calls a black man the N-word after he calls her a mutie, I'm like, one actually matters. One is
in
actually
the real world context.
Yeah. The fictional slur gives you a cop out. It doesn't give you any, you know what I mean? And then in the Boys TV show, they talk about racism and slurs in different ways. But then when it comes to topics that are important and political, they still will use a stand-in to avoid inflaming certain, like for example, there's this racist superhero in The Boys who hates black people. But instead of talking about Black Lives Matter, he talks about how superhero lives matter. Because heroes are more than like a conversation and the intent of that thing. But the words Black Lives Matter is never brought up. BLM is never brought up. Even though they're clearly
it is implied.
Yeah. Like I've seen writers go back and forth in regards to implication and slur this and slur that. And many times we're like, I get why they use a fictional slur. Especially if like sometimes there are actors who go, I'm not saying it, so give me another line of dialogue.
You're not getting me on the video saying that.
And then there are some directors who are like, oh, I'm gonna write myself into the script just so I can say the N-word.
You can say Tarantino.
Yep, Tarantino.
And Martin Scorsese.
I'm honestly, I'll be honest, less familiar with most of Martin Scorsese's work.
Martin Scorsese said the word 3 times in Taxi Driver.
I've never seen Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver is a great dark film, but at one point this actor dropped out, and there's a scene where this guy is talking to Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, the taxi driver, and he says, "See my wife up there with the N word." And Martin Scorsese says it 3 to 5 times, as in the script, and he says, "I wrote these lines of dialogues for another actor, but this actor couldn't show up, so I had to film it.
Uh-oh. That's actually quite awkward.
So I chose to say the N word myself, and I'm not a good actor. And I'm not a trained actor, so like it's an awkward moment where Martin Scorsese looks like Martin
That's
Scorsese. He's talking to Robert De Niro. Do you see the N word in the window? Do you see the N word in the window? Now, obviously, when I get weirded out, because obviously Quentin Tarantino has kind of like a little bit of a fetish with the N word, right? Especially when he talks about, oh yeah, my mom dated black men and black women babysat me. I grew
he's
up in
got
black
weird stuff,
houses.
going on. Yeah.
Yeah. He always wanted to be black, stuff like that.
To be
So with
honest,
him, it's a little bit of
I think a lot of the like film bro directors, they got a lot of shitty views.
oh yeah, no. A lot of them have
Even the
obviously
most
felt
well-meaning ones, like
Like-
they'll have their subconscious biases that
Like
bleed
they-
through.
I'm like I don't like Quentin Tarantino. I don't like Martin Scorsese. Like they
I like some of Tarantino's movies. I don't like him as a person, but
I
I
can
do
understand
love
that.
From Dusk Till Dawn
I can
and The
understand
Django
that.
Unchained. I do.
The only to be honest, the only Quentin Tarantino film that I've seen and I disliked it is Pulp Fiction. And I'm like
I've seen
I'm like I don't feel
That's
like
actually the
watching
one I
any of
haven't
the
seen yet.
and I'm
I
like
know I need to.
I don't feel like watching any of the rest of his films after having watched that and knowing the kind of person that he is.
I've
That's
seen
fair.
no. I've seen every Tarantino film. I used to be a big fan of him until he supported, uh, you know, Israel, and he did a lot of terrible things. With Quentin Tarantino, he's not a good person. He's unfortunately very talented. He's a
Yeah,
great director.
he's a great director, unfortunately.
No. And he said, and though I get why some people don't appreciate some of his sensibilities, I can't deny his talent. Same with Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese, I have mixed
Like, we
feelings
don't have
on.
to lie.
No. Martin Scorsese, I have mixed feelings on. Again, another talented filmmaker. He racially he is complicated because while he has failed black people, in my opinion, Martin Scorsese, he has done right by Asian actors, Asian films, Native American actors, Native American films, and now he wants to do Polynesian representation with The Rock. So though he is weird with certain things, it's interesting because I remember a lot of people when talking about Martin Scorsese, they'd be like, he's a defender of cinema because he brought over several Asian films, same with Quentin Tarantino, to the West. And they're talking about this system.
And like that can be true at the same time that Quentin Tarantino being a shitty guy in other ways can be true. Like unfortunately, shitty people can do good things. Like when we erase the fact that shitty people are still people with complicated lives and contributions to society, we oversimplify things and we start to distance ourselves from our ability to do bad things. Because when you think that when you think that bad people can only do bad things, you become convinced that because you did a good thing once, you can never do a bad thing. Do you know what I mean?
That's the thing. It's one of those things where like it's complicated. Where like with Quentin Tarantino, it's one of those things where like because I've seen his films, as there are some films of his I didn't like. There are some takes he has that make me look at him a certain way. Like there are certain opinions he's given that it's like similar things I have with James Cameron. I mean, with James Cameron, he talked about feminism and the way female characters are written, and he said, "Well, I did the best." He said, "My women are the best written women ever." That was him saying this, and I'm like, "Really? You're going to decide that?" Because basically trying to make the logic of, when I wrote for Ripley in Aliens, and when I wrote for Sarah Connor in Terminator, unlike these feminists, I treated them like I would a man. I treated them with respect.
I actually talked about this exact thing on the other gamma analysis thing that I'm editing right now with the librarians, where there was this whole phenomenon of like people like James Cameron, especially in the 80s and 90s. They were like, how do we write a good female character? Write a male character the way we would write a male character, and then just hire a female actress. And it's like that's not exactly like, and I genuinely think that like James, like I genuinely think that that's your heart is in the right place when you're trying to do that, but you haven't reached your final destination. You know what I mean? You're not there yet. Like that's like step one. That's
Yeah.
baby's first feminism. I appreciate the effort, and it has given us some super interesting characters that are important, like Ripley. But it's kind of like Joss Whedon. He did super cool stuff for feminism in the
At the,
90s,
at the
and
time.
then he never moved on. I would say
Yes.
other I would say what separates Joss Whedon in that way from these other people we're discussing, like Scorsese or Cameron, they seem to have actually evolved in some degree with the times and have like actually made some like changes or like actually like are some or at least on some level like not the exact same they were in the 80s and 90s, you know what I mean? Whereas it feels like Whedon crystallized in the 90s and never moved on.
You know what's funny? Okay, this is a strange part. With Quentin Tarantino, with him, I argue he de-evolved in one aspect.
Oh, you
Similar
notice I didn't say him. I'm not
Oh yeah,
including him in
no,
that.
no,
Mm.
of course,
Oh.
he always evolves with technology, with sensibilities, with writing and acting. So on that level, I can respect him for. With Quentin Tarantino, he de-evolved in the worst way possible,
Hmm.
which is, I can understand why, because every director, every filmmaker has a certain level of thick skin. When people were trying to blame school shootings on him, that was complete bullshit.
That was
I get
crazy.
why he got mad at that.
That was
No, no, no,
like
no.
that's
When
just
people try to
ridiculous.
claim that well, it was ridiculous. No, no, because they were, and I can see where he was coming from. Where there's a time where he's like, they're trying to censor me and take out blood and gore and action from my films. And on some level, in the early 2000s, that was happening to him.
Hmm.
So he was getting increasingly irritated by critiques. So now he's de-evolved to the point where Quentin Tarantino says, "Fuck all criticism of me. You're all liars and you're all stupid. I refuse to
Yeah,
listen to
he
anyone
thinks it's
critique."
all in bad faith and that
That's
he is always right.
Mm.
Right.
and that's one of the reasons why, to me, he's become kind of the worst filmmaker because one of his weakest films, Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's a very selfish film. Now, obviously, with filmmakers and directors, they fight for creative freedom, and that's beautiful. If I can watch a film, I feel like the entire time it's you're worshiping yourself or
Hmm.
your story. You like you're just jerking off the entire time. I'm not going to respect you. If your feels like it's only for you and it's not for anyone else, it feels incredibly insulting to me as an audience member because I'm like, you really don't care about me watching this. Like you just don't care. Like, you have no idea. When in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you have several celebrity history and references and nostalgia for old Hollywood. So in the spoiler alert, in the film, when he saves Sharon Tate from getting murdered by Charles Manson for the sake of fan fiction, it's because Quentin Tarantino goes, "My OCs, my characters could have saved Sharon Tate from Charles Manson." And I'm like, that's the whole point of your story? I'm like, really? Your fan fiction is this? Okay. Get how your original characters are that wonderful. They can rewrite history. Similar to Inglorious Bastards. Like he's made films where it's all about worshiping himself. And he doesn't see it, Tarantino. Like his response to it has been very like, what's my message? It's my story. You're wrong. You know what I mean?
I would
And
say that
especially
like I would say that like there you can do a film that's like really raunchy without it being like feeling like it's only meant to be for your fetishy like satisfaction. Does that make sense? Like the movie we're talking about, Satanic Panic, it's which we do need to get back to. It is it
well,
what it's
we're talking about the slur aspect first of Satanic
can I
Panic.
finish what I was saying? Like
So,
I just want to say like this it's a movie that is pretty raunchy and bloody and like very cult classic and niche and it's for a very specific audience, but it's still for more than one guy. Does that make sense? Like it's still for more
Mhm.
than one person. It's
it
for a
doesn't feel
very
selfish.
it's very yeah, it's for a very specific audience, but it's for a niche cult audience, not just for
Mhm.
one dude. You know what I mean? And Dean is the same way, where yeah, he makes stuff that he likes, but for people like him that he knows have like the same
Yeah.
interests.
Yeah.
So and like so, Satanic Panic, I would say, is a good example of what you're talking about. The opposite, because I agree. I would say that his films they get increasingly selfish. I like Django Unchained and From Dusk Till Dawn the most because those feel, even though one of them literally has him in it, those feel the least self-centered. Does that make sense?
He was writing for the characters, not for himself.
Yeah, he was actually writing like a semi-interesting story and world where it was like, oh, there's vampires here. This is cool. And to Django Unchained, everyone,
Yeah.
a lot of people agree, even his biggest haters, that that's his best movie because he lets the actors, that black actor, absolutely shine. You know what I mean? And he did. That was a really good. That was a really good performance.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
so,
but from Dusk Till Dawn on that one, and it partially might be the reason it isn't so much for him, and because he actually wasn't the director of that.
mhm,
Robert
He wrote,
Rodriguez was.
he wrote it as a
mhm.
gift for Robert. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love me and Brayden love Robert Rodriguez. He like
Like,
all of some of Quentin Tarantino's best work was when he was working with Robert. It's like it's
Well,
kind of
that's
like
one of the,
yes, wait.
even though I know that there's probably a slurs in it, I still do want to at some point watch From Dusk Till Dawn because I do think that's one that I will. That's a film that I probably will enjoy.
I don't remember
'Cause-
there being a lot. I
but
don't.
yeah,
no,
but
no,
just because it looks like it, like my
If
taste of
you,
film.
I think that is the one you would like a lot.
well, John, I
Oh,
have a question. John, I have a question because I know you talk about how you say you don't like slurs, real slurs in movies and TV shows. When it's done to highlight a character being stupid, like they don't even know it's a slur, would you be kind of okay with that because it's not them using it
I
in a racist way?
I don't like.
You still don't have
I
to
don't
love it,
like it.
but
Well, okay, so what I would so I don't like it any time that happens,
Mhm.
but what the thing that actually makes it easier for me to see me when watching films is actually like when it's done in like a modern day film because it's a lot
yeah,
less
you're echoing.
likely it's a lot less likely that they are it's in the script because the actors and the writers actually feel that way and more because it is the characters. So
Mhm.
I still don't like hearing it, but at least it's better versus as I've talked to Brayden about, I've been reviewing the '70s Incredible Hulk show.
Mhm.
There's an episode where the R slur is said a shit ton.
Oh
And
Because
no.
I hated
no,
that.
no,
I
no, no,
hated
Yikes.
it's
that because
no. I get no. I
uh,
get that, and unfortunately,
uh,
it's one of those things where at the time, remember, they thought that was
I
Yeah,
normal.
know
They
that
didn't
was
that's
know it was like
different at the time.
that's it being the time actually made it me hate it even more
Mhm.
really,
because
really.
because it was more likely that they were saying that because that was actually how they felt at the time versus a lot of times on subsplurger in movies today it's just because that's for the character. It's not actually because the people writing it or the people acting it feel that way.
Okay, so
Versus
I
in the
understand what.
70s, I could absolutely
Yeah,
see
like,
Bill Bixby being someone who would have said that about people who have mental issues.
Oh no,
but
no, no.
it's also like at the time that genuinely that wasn't a slur in
Hateful.
the same way. That wasn't a
Yeah,
slur at the
like
I
time.
think that yeah, I
It like
think it's
it
always
wasn't a great it wasn't a great term. Like I know a lot about this
I,
because I was in special ed for a lot of my life. Like at the time it wasn't a great thing to say, but it was more of a scientific term
a medical
then
diagnosis.
it was more of a genuine
uh,
diagnosis term than a slur. It became a slur
I
like once it became like what like it contextually
mhm.
like they realized that like it like at the time like it was never a great basically like it wasn't a slur to begin with, but it was never a great thing it was still a bit of an insulting thing
Yeah.
to call that
I,
diagnosis because retardation is that is a separate term that is a scientific term in like a physics sense that means something has become lesser than. So that the implication that you were like that was used as a scientific diagnosis to imply that someone is like less intelligent, like it was like not done necessarily maliciously, but it was done from a place of like ignorance, you know what
there's
I mean? And so they they were like, okay, we shouldn't use that. We should call it something else that's more accurate and not as,
Yes.
degrading. But then as the scientific community were like, oh, this is actually insulting. We're going to use a different term. Then the ableists were like, oh, you're saying it's insulting. Now we're going to use it even more as
Yeah.
as an insult. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
there was no, yeah, there was a time, John, where like doctors would use it in genuine, like they were told in medical school, this is the term, this is
It
not
was
a slur.
basically like saying autism,
So,
unfortunately.
like, how I've always viewed these kinds of things is, um, yes, there was a time when this might not have been considered a slur, or the N word, or there was a time when it was not considered a slur.
Well, no, that was
But
always
let me
considered.
let me
Yeah.
continue. It was not, but I I think like the reason for that is
Mhm.
because the people in power were the ones wanting to say it. The people that it affected, they've always probably hated these words, and they
Mhm.
are being said at them, and like I think that's sign that when people try to say, hey, oh, we have to look at things through a lens of what how people spoke back then. I'm like,
Well, that's not.
people were more or bigoted back then. So and I'm like, I don't want to go
No,
look
but
at it
that's
through
not
that.
what we're saying because this is not the same as
It's
a lot of other things.
it's a
This is
it's
like
a
I
a
it's an
very specific
educational
thing.
it's an educational issue.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like no, obviously we have great tools of, but despite misinformation, we still have better tools and sources of information now than they had decades ago. Like there was a time where people had no idea. Like okay, for example, like John, like a correct term for an Inuit is Inuit. There are people who have no idea what the word
They
Inuit
have
is.
no idea. It's still to this day. There are people who the G slur for the Romani we were talking about earlier. To this day, there's people that have no idea. That's
Oh yeah.
not
It
the act,
Yeah.
and
There's
that is not good. Like that is not good. But
yeah.
I think
because of lack of information.
what I'm
Like
trying to
I'm.
say more is this specific situation
Mhm.
was like it was like again like I agree like in the context like it is like when you watch that old episode it like is upsetting because you're like in this context everyone really was using this term, like even if they weren't using it maliciously, it was still this systemic thing of like this was the term being used. But
Yeah.
like what we have to understand is that a slur is a very specific thing that is not the same as like something that is insulting and derogatory. Like a slur becomes a slur like in a very specific
Mhm.
context. You know what I mean? And so something like yes, it was like always like insulting, but in the context of how it was being used in the beginning it was like a scientific term kind of like disability, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
then the context of like people deciding, oh, we shouldn't use that and changing, and then other people deciding we are going to latch on to this and make it an intentionally malicious slur on it, like and to represent our systemic oppression like like that thing like so like that's why this the R slur is like a very specific slur like again like not all slurs are comparable. You can't compare that to the N slur because those are not like those are not the same thing. You
Oh,
know what
yeah,
I
I
mean? Like
absolutely understand. Like, it's not nearly as bad as the N word. I'm
oh,
just saying,
it's
like,
it's not even
just
about
using
bad.
the I'm just like I'm using just like the comparison of like
Mhm.
of I don't like the idea of like of just this there are people who blanket
Mhm.
for all kinds of like offensive things. They're like, oh, we gotta look
Yeah,
at it as if
no.
it was from the time, if we were in the time that it
Oh,
happened. Like, no,
Yeah,
no,
no.
no, we don't.
That's not what we
That's
were
not.
saying.
oh no,
We
no,
don't
that's not.
have
No,
to
no,
do
no, I
that.
was.
We this if something's bad, if something's bad, if it's offensive, it's always been offensive. It's just the people in power weren't were saying it back then, so they didn't and they were controlling what
Yeah, but
was
like as
shown
the
to
people
them.
actually affected by this the most,
Yeah,
like me and Brayden, like well, we're not
yeah.
saying
I
that. We're saying that like
mhm,
the context is important of like it
mhm,
is upsetting that like they wrote that episode like
yeah,
that, but also it's like what's interesting is that like the like you have to like think about like the upsetting thing is that that at the time was like the systemic like scientific term,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
that the context of that being a bad thing is just not exactly the same as
Yeah,
if it was
I'm
something that
not.
happened today.
I just want to be clear. I was not trying to like contradict you guys or either anything. I was just pointing out how in general I just don't like that. But like the idea
Yeah, no, we don't need it. Yeah.
forcing you to have to look at things from the perspective of someone back then. Like that's I
Well,
would.
It's just that when we're talking
Oh, I
about
understand that.
the like
But I
but
understand what you're trying to say.
you're the one who brought up the context of like
Yes.
the people who wrote it
Yes.
of
I would just say, like, I'm not trying to say that you guys are wrong or anything. I was bringing that up in addition. And
it's 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 a
I,
complicated thing. I was just
oh,
curious because no, 'cause I was curious and
No, we're
surprised.
fine. I was just saying like
mhm.
No,
the
no, I
wanted to be
was
clear.
Yeah.
no, but I was surprised by your opinion in a good way because I'm so used to hearing people go, "Oh yeah, this movie from the '70s has a bunch
Mhm.
of offensive shit. It's terrible. It's just unfortunately at the time they thought that was normal, which is historically very true." And obviously, there are some people who are like, should we edit old movies? Should we edit old TV shows and take that stuff out? And then there are some people who are like, no, we can't because that's censoring and whitewashing history. You have to leave that shit in, that terrible stuff in, you
Mhm.
know? And then my whole thing is, oh yeah, I'm sure some of these people involved might be malicious. Unfortunately, some of these people are dead. I can't just ask them what was your
But
mindset when writing this thing, you know? And of course, I mean, I remember that episode you were talking about because I watched it as a kid and I rewatched it later on. And even as a kid, I knew this is very outdated because even medical shows
Mhm.
from the 2000s
Mhm.
and even now don't use that term. So I
Mhm.
was like, why would a doctor in the 70s say that? Then I went, it's a doctor. And logically, my brain goes, oh, it's a doctor in the 70s saying it is shitty. Unfortunately, they thought that was the correct thing to say.
Yeah,
But I
like
wasn't
there's
trying to
a
excuse them.
difference. There's a difference between
mhm.
they thought it was normal to be bigoted and they thought
Yeah.
that that was the actual scientific term.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I like those
I
are just
don't
two different things, I think.
I don't think that Bill Bixby was as bigoted or anything. It just does still though
It
annoy me
ages badly.
that he said that
Mhm.
It's
in the
questionable, very
episode.
questionable.
Like what
It speaks
I
to
think that
ignorance.
uh, uh like I don't in a film from any time period. I don't like the like hearing that word. But it is like easier for me within in things that are more recent because of the fact that I know it's most likely just the character and not
Yeah,
like their
like
actual views. Like I don't think like even though I absolutely hated the scene in Deadpool and Wolverine, I don't think Wesley Snipes is just is going around saying the R word or
it's
constantly.
more like Blade doesn't give a shit and Blade's from a very certain era because he's
Oh no,
old as
you know what?
shit.
It's a very funny misunderstanding. Basically, Deadpool says something. He says the word retired. And Blade goes, did you call me? And he says the R word because he
Because
couldn't hear his
he's
mask.
Yeah.
no, because he's and but also
Oh
it
yeah.
makes
Oh
sense
yeah.
because he from in the early
He
I
knows.
understand the
2000s
context.
he would have been used to people actually saying that. He would have been like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah.
Like and so and but like but like it's interesting with this specific slur. There's like an early time period where like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not great they're saying that, but they obviously just meant it in a scientific sense. And then you get to it like later on more
Mm-hmm.
into like the 90s to early 2000s where if a character was saying it, it was probably because the right like it was
Mm-hmm.
probably meant to be a slur and they probably thought that was fine to say. You know what I mean? Because they don't
Yeah.
care. You like there's a difference between oh they thought this was this like the same as just saying the word autism in like a scientific sense but that was still not great and oh in like the early 2000s they were just actually
Yeah.
saying that as a slur like that's when you're like ooh. But then you move into like the more modern age where you have where most things you're like I'm pretty sure if a character says that we're not meant to agree with them whereas
Yeah. We're yeah.
in the early 2000s you were meant to agree with the character.
Mm-hmm. Like there's
Yeah.
there's a comedy film that I like that Jake Johnson's in, and he
Mm,
says the R slur or that came out in like 2012 or something. I but I'm like I don't
That's
think that's the
bridging the
kind.
line of
I
like.
don't think that's the kind of person he is in real life. So I'm
Mhm.
like, uh, uh, so I'm more okay with it, even though I still dislike hearing it.
We don't love it, but like when it's
Yeah.
an actor and it's like it might be in a context, you're like, I'm not getting pitchforks and torches out. I just
Yeah.
would prefer if that didn't happen. Like I totally
Mhm.
agree. Same thing with like Judy in Satanic Panic. I would prefer if that didn't happen, but also I understand that like in
Yeah.
context that actually makes a lot of sense for a character.
Wait,
And
and
they
also,
and those people in that neighborhood probably said way worse, and we just didn't hear it.
Oh yeah.
well, especially when she says, "Oh yeah, I was homeschooled," and we see that the community wasn't all homeschooled into this into a very
Weird
like
fucking shit.
educational
Mhm.
cutoff society. So there are many times where, like, even like the two girls that go after what's that goes after
Uh,
Casey.
Sam.
Yeah, they goes after Sam. Yeah, the main girl, the two girls, the sister.
The main girl is Sam, and then there's
Yeah.
the two like incestuous lesbian
Mhm.
sisters,
No, no, yeah, but when
and they're
some of this,
kildo.
Mhm.
no, 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 but some of the stuff they say when talking to Sam or even the kids, that was kind of a clue of like, what type
Yeah,
of life
Oh
do
yeah.
you have?
Absolutely.
it's like
So,
oh,
Yeah.
so you get the sense that like multiple generations have been raised in this like rape death cult,
Yeah.
like and the
Mm.
fact that they were gonna like rape her to death with the kildo, well, the little kids were awake
Mhm.
downstairs. Like there's even some pedophilic aspects
Oh
implied
yeah.
there. They didn't actually show it on screen, but you get the vibe that that's probably not a boundary they have. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's
Oh
they've
yeah.
if they're willing to kill
No.
their kids and sacrifice them, they're probably
Mhm.
also doing other things,
Real,
and it's
but even
concerning.
like,
really quick, I'm not gonna like try and really get into this because I do want to like move on from like talking about the slur. If you're wondering why I feel so passionately about hating hearing that, it's because my dad when he got angry he would use that exact
Mine
thing,
too. I
and
one
I hate
time
and that's why I just hate hearing that word at any time now.
It is probably one of my least favorite ones to hear personally. Like it is the most personally upsetting for me too, because that is the one that got slung against me a lot,
Hmm.
including by my dad. And one time he said it to me, and so we had a surround sound speaker system installed in our living room, and I grabbed one of the speakers and ripped it out of the wall and threw it right at his head after he called me the R slur, and he never called me that word again. So that's
I
I
how
wish
bad
did
I
my
not
had the
follow.
strength to have done something like that against my
I have a I
I
usually don't have strength, but when I get
no
mad, it somehow
well,
happens.
I don't mean like physical strength. I
Mm.
mean like emotional strength to actually like my dad I could not really argue back at him, and I did not have the strength to do that or
I
anything like
like
that.
some people might call it strength, but I would actually say it was more self-destructive. It was I didn't care if I like
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like I think that it was more that you actually had survival instincts, whereas I was suicidal when I was 8 and I didn't
Hmm.
care if I died. Like it's like straight up. I was like,
I
kill me, do it.
I have a history of being called slurs, for various different reasons. As someone who's very mixed, I've been called several racial slurs, even
Mhm.
for the wrong race, throughout my life.
Been there, buddy.
No, no, no. But like, of course, I've been called the R word, even a bunch on Twitter. Some days if it hurts me, some
It's
days it doesn't.
people are using it
Um,
again on Twitter these days, and I'm like, you guys aren't
It's so
cool.
annoying that people are
no, no, no.
using it
But
again now.
You're lame.
um,
You're assholes.
as as a person of color, I'm Native Hawaiian, I'm Samoan, I'm Chinese, I'm also mixed with other stuff. I'm also Native American. I'm also white. So, and I look to a lot of friends and strangers. They mostly see me as Asian. Like some people think I'm Korean, even though I'm not Korean or Japanese. Which I kind of get. And
You
they can
do
tell
this.
I'm
You're
mixed. Like they can
distinct.
tell I'm not.
Yeah, you're distinctly like
Yeah, yeah,
not white.
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and then so whenever I got called Asian slurs by racists growing up, I wasn't too shocked. Same when I was called like Hispanic slurs because my last name is Silva, which is Portuguese, as I am part Portuguese. So that there were many times where people thought I was Mexican and they would say Mexican slurs at me, cops, ICE, whoever. So when it comes to certain slurs, and there's conversations about slurs, I've been pretty much at every conversation because
Makes sense.
I've seen, no, I've heard,
You're
white
also
people and
gay.
people of color. No, no, yeah, no, yeah. I've been called several slurs of
You like
sexuality.
forgot about
So
that part?
no, 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 but I was talking about just context to like
Mhm.
slur conversation, like just in my experience with slurs and how at least my relationship with slurs in films and TV. There are many times I can watch a film, like if I watch a film about racism and there is no slur, I'm like, I gotta really go like, okay, are you doing this because of the actors couldn't do it, or are you doing this because of? Cause I have seen some directors of color go, I don't want to do slurs in my film
Mhm.
because it's been done to death by white
Mhm.
directors and by my fellow peers. I'm done,
And
and
also,
I
like,
get
it's
that.
something people
No,
already. It's not like anyone's unaware.
if it
It's like
Spike Lee has brought up how uh, it's kind of messed up of Quentin Tarantino's love for say the N
yeah,
word.
no, no, yeah, and then there are many times where like there are some people of like different races get offended when you don't mention it, which is interesting because I'm like, and it's like why? Because there's some people who are like I feel like you are downplaying racism when you don't say it because they're like it's a very sensitive subject. So they're like if you're censoring the assault of something, the verbal assault of something, there are some people of color who get offended by that, which I get.
Where does
And then there's
accuracy and responsibility to the present
black,
begin?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a big issue. And when it comes to the R slur,
Mhm.
and that oh yeah, it's obviously very terrible. And there are some times where I do watch a movie or a show, and I can ease the pressure in the sense of like, oh, this character is an idiot. Or you mean, oh, this character is not good. You know what I mean, or like this character doesn't even know what that word means. You know,
Mhm.
but I completely understand why people do get irritated, or like they'll be like, why is this here?
There's
So
something to be said that it is ostensibly the newest mainstream slur,
yeah,
like historically speaking, and I think because it's the newest one, people take it the least seriously sometimes. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
They think because it's the
yeah.
newest, and therefore it genuinely doesn't carry as much history that it's all right. When it's
Mhm.
like it's still not okay though.
Yeah.
No,
It's
and
still
also
not great.
and then when we get to the other slur in Satanic Panic, the racial slur, that's the character's name. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't mind saying it to quote like for
Uh,
example,
yeah.
the real life
Uh,
person, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Her
I
name is
was thinking
Gypsy
her.
Rose.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's why I think of what the real life way. I'm like, I feel so bad about the things that have happened to her, but I'm also at the
Yeah.
same time, I'm like,
Am I gonna
I
disrespect
don't
her
want to
further?
say that word.
no. And again,
Which
I'm
is,
only saying it because
I
no,
know,
I'm only saying it
and I'm
because
not like saying you're wrong for saying. I'm just saying
oh
like
no, don't
I
worry.
personally, I'm like, I'm so conflicted about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
And then
would only I would only say it in the context of like referring to someone's name,
Mhm.
or and for me, I think that like personally does extend to the character in the movie. If I'm just like if I'm
Oh
talking
yeah,
about the movie, like I do need
and
to mention the character at some point. You know what I mean? And so I'll
yeah,
be like, that's
oh, you gotta find the actress's name.
yeah,
and
like we could find a way around it, but I also don't think it would be like I just don't think it's on the same
uh,
level as
and
saying
I
it like
also
in the context of a slur as saying either a person or a character's name. But
yeah.
like obviously a character isn't the same as a real person, but still in the context of the story,
Mhm.
I'm not like if I'm
And I
quoting a
also
text, I'm not you know what I mean?
and like even though I dislike like the word I with that and the character name I do not think I don't think there's that I don't no, I'm not like mad that the film had it in there.
It was
I'm
actually kind
like
of accurate.
A
I'm
white
not
woman
mad
named that.
about but mainly as we mentioned before because it's not very well known that that is a slur. Or I wouldn't be surprised if the people making the film did do not know.
Didn't know. Yeah,
No, I actually think they did, and I think they did it on purpose because I think especially rewatching the movie, I paid special attention to that character, that we're talking about, the one who like is has a racial slur as her first name, um, but like I think it was intentional because you'll notice she was not that was the only Orientalist thing about her, you know what I mean? Her head wrap. what the heck?
Mm,
Like her head wrap and a lot of the stuff that she did and the stuff she had in her house. If you pay close attention, she had a
yeah,
bunch of she was meant to represent the Orientalist
Mhm.
version of like a white witch, or, like oh, and also like just a white rich woman.
Mhm.
There are like a lot of them are super Orientalists and like fetishize Eastern cultures and even
yeah,
like the Romani culture. You know what I mean? And love to use the G slur for themselves. You know what I mean? They're like, and they love to call themselves bohemian. You know, like stuff like that. And like, so that's what that character obviously was meant to represent to me. That she was intentionally like all these different characters were meant to I think were meant to represent different types of the
Yeah,
people in these like sorts of social circles. Like Jerry
of course.
O'Connell is the sleazy like douchebag like rapist asshole who
Yeah.
self-victimizes and thinks that he is like that he's done nothing wrong and that he's actually the good guy and that he's the victim of his shitty wife even though he's
You
just as
know,
complicit.
you were bringing up last night how you with like all the people in this cult, you don't think that like they are doing any of this. They don't think any of them like actually care about their kids. They only will only care about their kids if it benefits them, and if and
Hmm.
they only are willing to kill their kids if it benefits them.
See, I don't.
I'm which like that, it got me thinking about Jerry O'Connell's character. I think that he was only willing to wanted to quote unquote help her,
Mhm.
or because it benefited him of
Yes, I
he gets to
agree.
have sex with her.
I agree. Yeah. Like he was and again he like makes paints himself as the good guy when we know that he's not and he's
Mm-hmm.
actually quite selfish and he also paints himself as this eternal victim when he's just as complicit in everything that's gone on until now. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like you married her. You stuck around. You were part of this cult. You knew what was happening. Don't act like you're suddenly this victim who had nothing to do with it. Like, oh come on, you know what I mean? But I also don't think it's necessarily true that like they don't care in the healthy normal way, but I
Yeah.
think that they have some twisted like
Oh yeah, I
like
absolutely think there are some of them who they do absolutely care about their kids in some fashion.
but not the way they
Um,
should.
yeah, absolutely. Like I brought up last night as we were watching it. I think that Danica, Rebecca Romain's character, or I think she does care about her daughter, and I think she would have taught her daughter and like how to do whatever things are to like keep yourself alive from any injury, which is what makes it like uh, she could be alive for like a potential sequel, if they ever decide to make something like that. I doubt it, but I would love it if they did. Um, I think it's very interesting. You know, like I do think that those other parents were upset that their daughters were killed.
But like, yeah, and I agree. And so that's what was kind of confusing me in my first watch. So in the second watch, I paid special attention to that, and it occurred to me that like they do care, but in like not in an
Yeah,
unconditional way. You know what I mean?
yeah,
They like and so like they almost see that they're like family members and people around them as like possessions and like pets or whatever, as opposed to like seeing them as people in a full right. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To where like they care about their kids, but when it comes up that there's something that they can gain, that desire for to gain can outweigh the care they have for their
Yeah.
kids because they don't care unconditionally. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
that's not like a healthy like the thing is that people think that like if that there's only healthy love and then not loving something at all. And I'm
Hmm.
like, no, there's weird
Oh
fucked
yeah.
up stuff in the middle that's not good.
That's
That's not okay. But it's still like an emotion someone's having. Like
yeah.
there's an
That's
attachment there, but I don't think it's like the way you should have to a child. It's
oh
more the
yeah,
way you would
absolutely.
have to a possession that you do like, but if
Mm.
something came up that you liked more, you would trade it. You know what I mean?
they're not nearly to the awful extent of the parents in this film, but it reminds me of the of have either of you seen the Marvel show Runaways?
I've seen it. Yes,
Yes, I
I've read
do
the
remember
comic.
that
They
show.
uh the parents in that are also part of a cult, and but there is and they're very willing to use their children, but there is like a part of art of them with all of them that does care somewhat for their
Yeah,
children.
they would justify it. I remember that show. They would justify all the because they weren't like sacrificing their kids like lot. Like they in their minds they're like, oh, I'm not actually like killing my kid. I'm just using them as a pawn. But in their mind they would benefit, and it actually was an extension of how a lot of real world parents are, where
Yeah.
they're
Mhm.
using their kid as a pawn. But in their mind they're like, I'm helping you. This is gonna benefit all of us. I know best. Mother
Mhm.
knows best. I'm doing what's best for you. You just don't know it yet. That's the stuff they would justify it
Yeah.
with themselves in Runaways. And I think they're probably they're like I think there was a degree of that, but in a more extreme, twisted way for
Hmm.
Danica, because they're in like this
Oh yeah.
death cult where it seems like even if she wasn't planning on resurrecting her kid, even if she really was gonna die, it seemed like she justified it to herself with being the mother of Baphomet, who brings Baphomet into the world, is like the highest honor, I guess. And
Mhm.
also the repeated implication was that they were all going to die. Event like they were only going like they said multiple times that in their ritual, if it had worked, they would have been like really rich while they were alive for like 5 years, and then the apocalypse would happen and everyone would die and go to hell. That was literally their plan. They
Mhm.
literally, and so Danica literally says like does like we're trading a few years of glory instead of a lifetime of being boring. Is basically like they're willing to have a death cult as long as they get to like have fun before they die.
Mhm.
That's the idea. And
Which
so
is
she
like so
justified.
wild because they're already rich. It's
Yeah, no,
like
it's yeah, exactly. It's this obsession. It's this obsession with it's this greed of they want more and more and more. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And
So,
Well,
but like they chose it.
there.
Like you said that. What were you saying, Brayden?
Oh no, no, but like another thing that is kind of well, I mean, because there's some foreshadowing to that with what Jerry O'Connell said. Because it seemed like Jerry O'Connell didn't want to die, even though he got fucked to this cold. But one of the things he says to Sam is like the reason why the rich stay rich and you keep getting poor is because of them.
Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to imply that like they are just bored. Like that's true. Like
Yeah.
their need for their greed, their lust really made them so numb to everything. They don't even give a damn about what's in the present except for how to achieve what comes after. So
Mm.
it's kind of interesting because you know how like with a lot of religions and a lot of cults, it's all about doing acts of service to ensure a wonderful afterlife,
mhm.
which is
Mhm.
basically like this film really.
It's
But
a demonic doomsday cult, yeah. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
well, we're just
what's
used to the Christian doomsday cults.
yeah, yeah, but what's funny is like in a way they accidentally teach Sam to live life again. Well, her
Yeah.
and them and Judy, but when she survives it all at the end, even
Mhm.
after the demon, Samuel saves her. Like they all teach Sam to live life in the present rather than focusing on what comes after.
Oh, I wrote down in my notes last night. It's something I realized that was interesting, especially with the way that multiple times throughout the movie they showed that they're not actually on Earth. They're in some like other like purgatory like dimension that just looks like Earth, like just looks like Earth, but it's like different.
Yeah.
I realized there's something interesting. You could interpret this movie as like at least on a metaphorical sense, but maybe even on some like literal sense. Because she think about the fact that like think about what happened. Like think about the actual timeline. She and her boyfriend were in extreme cancer treatment. They were both likely to die. She miraculously gets healed. He dies. And she can't move on from the fact that she didn't visit him before he died, and she feels so bad about it. You know what I mean? She
Mhm.
and so she becomes like trapped, like locks herself like away, and you know what I mean? It's not really living life. And you could say she's kind of in a purgatory of
Yeah, for
sorts.
sure. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
so it feels like in a way everything that happened especially since it feels it's surreal from the beginning of the movie, and the demon Sam is at the very start of the movie. The demon Sam is there. It's literally at the in the beginning credits of the movie, and is
Yeah,
watching her. It's watching her the entire time. The demon Sam's there from the very beginning, even when she's at the pizza place. So it's
yeah.
like
Mhm.
so it's like she's either always been being watched by a demon in the real world, or she's not. Maybe she's not even actually alive.
You know
Maybe
what's funny?
Australia is the afterlife, and she had trapped her. She did die, and her boyfriend also died, but or like you know what I mean. But she couldn't move on from like feeling so guilty for not visiting him on his deathbed, and this like the same way that like she did her like or something that she did, or like she just felt so trapped in like purgatory that she couldn't um that she had to like because there's a lot of theological theories that purgatory is self-inflicted, that
Hmm.
you have to be emotionally move past your unfinished business in
Mhm.
order to
Yeah.
move into the afterlife, and therefore purgatory is less of a punishment and more of a limbo where you're trying to you have to process before you actually go to heaven, you know what I mean, or
Yeah.
hell. And this movie intentionally tells us that hell is real, therefore heaven must also be real. They're a dichotomy, they don't exist without the other by definition. And that is interesting that they chose like Australia as this like idealized promised land of her to like go off to, that like evokes like the Into the West like or Journey to the East like vibe of like going across the sea into the sunset to get to the afterlife kind of thing. That
Hmm.
kind of like so it felt like you could at least interpret it in a way of like after either her boyfriend dying or she also died, even if she's alive, she's trapped in this sort of purgatory of her own making, and she has to go through these trials. And like you could almost say that like the coven and all the demons they summon are almost like, because there's a this idea that in like purgatory or limbo, that like because you're in between heaven and hell, like both sides are able to reach you, so
Yeah.
demons
Yeah.
can come and take you and drag you to hell even if you don't belong there. That there's
Hmm.
that idea that if you don't process your emotions in time, you'll be vulnerable to demons in limbo, and you'll never get like they'll come and drag you to hell. And that's the vibe it was giving me when we
Mhm.
watched it
Hmm.
last night, of like they're coming for her, and she's being like like chased down and like and like taken to hell and sacrificed to hell, and it's one of the gatekeepers of hell. Same as one of the gatekeepers of hell is the thing. That demon
Hmm.
is literally one of like the guard, like the people who guards the border to hell, and doesn't let people get out or in unless he wants to. So I looked up like which demon that was, and I was like, that's interesting. He's kind of like the transitionary, the person standing at the gates between limbo and hell in a way you could say. And so it's interesting that it was like it's like this demon who saves her, but really just decides not to pursue her. That's all Samuel really does.
Mhm.
And so like letting her like act, and so like you said, they kind of like taught her how to live life again, and like they basically snapped her out of this numb, like not living her life, like just doing the motions purgatory she put herself into, metaphorically or literally. And so Australia is the metaphorical or literal heaven, afterlife, that she's finally letting herself go to and
Mhm.
not holding herself back from. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's, I know, but also one thing I wanted to add on that can actually kind of fit with what you're saying. The fact that the first time we hear Sam talk, she's singing that song about Australia that she made in tribute to her dead boyfriend,
Hmm.
and her friends, her coworkers, are making fun of it because it's not good enough. It's terrible. It's a terrible song. But
Yeah.
when she confesses to Judy the truth of what really happened, all the feelings she's keeping inside, you can argue that's
Yeah.
like a confession that she's letting go. She's
Yeah.
starting to let go because she's not singing a
She's
terrible
actually
song.
processing those emotions.
She's
Yeah,
actually talking. Yeah.
the song was artificial and was kind of like a hollow gesture to
Yeah.
to put a band-aid over the wound. She wasn't actually admitting the guilt she was feeling. She only exercised that with Judy. You know what I mean? She wasn't putting that guilt into the song. That's why it was low key, that's why it was whack. If she actually poured her guilt into a song, it would probably be fire as fuck. It'd probably be a great song. It would be a sad song, but it'd be good.
John, after we were talking about the slurs and stuff like that, but what were some of the other notes you had for the film?
I didn't take any notes for the film
I don't
to
know,
be,
but anything you want
but
to
I
talk
like
about?
you know, like the sign I brought up last night, of wishing that there was a that the character who like warned Sam that she needs to
Mm.
leave. Um, as I was thinking about this today, and I rewatched the show again today by myself. Is you know, uh, uh, I do think it would have been fun if we had a scene later in the film of her betraying them. And
Hmm.
another thing that I think, um, one thing though that kind of like pushes against that is like maybe I don't know. I'm guessing that maybe she isn't completely actually caring about out Sam because if she did care about Sam, she would have just given her the money and then had her and then
Yeah.
leave. She's also rich like the rest of these people, so she could have easily just opened her pocket and gave her some money and said, "Get out of here."
Again, she was only nice as much as it didn't inconvenience her. And then the second it
You know,
inconvenienced her, she was like, I don't care that much
Mm.
anymore.
what's funny? One thing that kind of fits with what you've been saying, Kira, about like it being potentially purgatory and the gateway to hell. And I'm thinking about like stuff like Dante's Inferno and some other stuff. But
I think
in
that was what I was thinking as well. It's very Dante's Inferno in a way.
obviously in Greek legend in Greek religion you have to bribe the ferryman. Now one
Hmm.
thing that's kind of interesting, the $5 she needed for gas, the $5 to get out of there, she left with the boss, right?
Yeah.
And she doesn't get any money at all. The only bribe she gets, the bribe she gives to Sam, is the
Is
code of
the
Sam.
rabbit.
She had no money.
No, no, no.
Yeah, the
It's
rabbit,
remember,
the
she
rabbit,
gave birth to the
the
two
rabbit. Yeah,
rabbits that
yeah,
were a
yeah,
representation of her emotional connection to her love. And then she basically let the demon eat one of her babies and then took the other one, which also felt like a little bit biblical in a way,
yeah. Mm,
like like
yeah, yeah,
this the sacrificial like lamb, but it's a rabbit. You know what I mean? Like the sacrifice,
Mhm.
yeah.
like Abraham sacrificing his kid. You know, but like in a demonic way of like because no, think about it. They all sacrificed their children for power. She gave birth to that bunny. She technically sacrificed one of her babies to pay the ferryman to get out of Tartarus, to get out of hell, to get out of to
Yeah,
purgatory.
yeah, yeah.
Because it's, I was like, it's crazy
I
that I was thinking last night. I was like, it's crazy. She just like sat there while it ate her child, but she cares about the other rabbit. And I'm like, oh well, she probably knows that she had to pay her.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I guess because of the way the scene was directed and the way Sam's messing with her, the Samuel is messing with her before and it takes the bunny
Mhm.
already. I was always kind of like, I don't think Sam made a sacrifice, but when Sam is talking to the bunny and Samuel and brings that whole point up, it's like, can you bail me out with this? That that's just, no, because the way I always took it as like Sam convinced other Sam to change their mind. When in actuality, they had the payment in their hands the whole
No,
time.
no. Remember, like, basically, like she brought up the code of Sam's, and like it's kind of ambiguous, but you could like, but I was thinking about it, and like the way she like takes a bite, she doesn't say, "Oh, that makes sense," and then lets her walk away.
Mhm.
She bites off the rabbit's head
Mhm.
off. Her child she just gave birth to, then looks at her and says, "Run," as in this I just ate means that you get a head start. That's the price that you like. She's like,
Uh,
Fuck your code of
I
Sam's. I don't give a shit."
I don't think Sam was intending for that to
I
happen
don't think it.
as like a payment, but Samuel was Samuel took it that way.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
think is what it is.
Sam was
Um
basically
yeah,
like, I'll take this and you can go. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
mhm.
and so like, but the fact that she put an effort to take the other rabbit instead of leaving it behind tells me that those rabbits carry meaning. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And so to lose one
Yeah.
like that carries weight, and that weight is a
Oh
cost. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
mm,
It's kind
yeah,
of like if someone like it's kind of like when you go when I would go to like the convenience store when I was younger with like change and try to get a drink, and I was like a quarter down, the guy behind the counter would be like, just take it.
Yeah.
This is fine. I'll cover the rest. Like that.
Mhm.
That's the vibe Sam really gave. It's like I
Yeah,
guess
it's understandable.
I guess I'll eat this rabbit and you can go. Whatever. I don't really
Mm.
care that much.
Oh,
Mhm.
well. But speaking
This movie,
of the rule of the Sams, I love that bit throughout the film for
yeah,
and like they them like particularly naming a whole bunch of different characters Sam or Sam
yeah,
adjacent names just for that. I
because
really
that's an
like that.
extremely biblical name.
Um, I think one of my favorite sequences in the film is like um when Sam and has to write all over Judy's body to try and protect her. I think it's like so cool how
It's
that
a good
scene. And then like
intimacy that's not
I
sex.
I I'm one thing I'm so glad about with that scene is they had the needles coming out under
Hmm.
her eyes and not actually through her eyes, because
Yeah,
I can't handle eye gore or in
yeah.
films. So
I feel
so
like
like
they knew.
I would have freaked out if that if like that if it actually went through her eyes. But like the way they did it, it looked so cool. You know, yeah. I think I really like that scene. Um,
It's a
I
good
love.
example of like intimacy that's not sexual, where like the fact that they were having that emotional conversation and she was like protecting her body by writing all over it was like intimate, but not necessarily like sexual. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it was more about being genuinely vulnerable on both an emotional and physical level without having
Yeah.
to be we're about to fuck, which I thought was interesting after they had the whole
Mhm.
conversation where they were like, we would fuck, but it wouldn't help.
Mhm.
Well, I also
No,
felt another thing is,
uh,
oh, sorry,
no,
you want to go?
no, you can go. You can go.
Oh no, no.
Yes, Brayden?
One thing I thought was interesting that because obviously Sam, she's a virgin, and the fact that she talks about like, oh, my husband was too sick to have sex with me, and he died, and then all this other stuff, and the fact that we can see that she's very physically closed off, and obviously she has to deal with that thing from Jerry O'Connell's character, or who's another Sam, right?
Mhm.
But when she's touching Judy and she's trying to save her, she's obviously stressed out by the situation. But the fact that she has to physically be intimate and emotionally intimate, and she has to do all this stuff at the same time while talking about her dead boyfriend and all this trauma.
That she failed to be emotionally or physically intimate. She wouldn't even go see him. She failed.
Yeah,
She's admitting she directly compares him later. She's like, I did fail someone before when even if he would have so died, he needed me to be there and I wasn't.
Mhm.
So now she's gonna be there for Judy even if it's scary because
and then
she failed to do it once before and she regrets it.
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why, even though Judy's death does suck, one of the reasons why I do defend the fact that she does die is the fact that she didn't leave. Sam doesn't look say that
Yeah.
obviously she couldn't get far anyway,
Mhm.
but she was trying her hardest to make sure she went with her, which is
Hmm.
very important to Sam's growth. And the fact that Judy didn't leave Sam when she had the chance to either, which of course I think Rebecca Romaine points out. She's like, you could have left her. You could have traded her to get back in my good graces, but you didn't.
Mhm.
And of course when of course there's that,
And then at the end, she like starts saying, "Oh, do whatever you want." But I suspect that was just her trying to get out of the restraints to like then
she was
try to
going.
attack her mom. Yeah, she was just desperate to get any change in the situation to where she could get
Mhm.
some leverage. I think. I don't think she actually was trying to betray her. And I don't think I think Sam also clocked that. But that's why
Yeah.
she said don't beg to her. It's not that she basically was like it's not mad. She was like, "Girl, that's not even gonna work. I don't think
Mhm.
you should bother."
It reminded me of Breaking Bad in a way.
Hmm. How so?
Oh no, there's a scene in Breaking Bad. I'm not sure, John, if you've seen Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
I have not
I've
seen Breaking
seen
Bad.
it. It's been a while, so I don't remember everything. But yeah.
Okay, well, to anyone listening to this, spoiler, but like one of the best moments in Breaking Bad in the final season is right before Hank dies, and one of the things Hank says to Walter is, you know, you're the smartest man I've ever known. You're so fucking stupid to see. He made up his mind 10 minutes ago. You can't beg your way out of this. That's what's gonna happen to me. So when Sam's talking to Judy, she's like, like, oh no, 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 your mom already made up her mind.
Yeah.
There's no
Mhm.
getting out of this, talking out of this. I'll figure a way out. Which, of course, we see her trying to rip the chains off. She was just that angry, but she didn't expect that to happen. But like,
No, I actually think that part of that was, I think inherently being pregnant with a demon made her
yeah.
stronger, and they didn't
Mm,
anticipate that that would
Mhm.
obviously happen. Even if it was a
mm,
temporary moment, she was like, you know what? I'm pissed, and I literally have a demonic entity coursing its blood back through my veins through a placenta right now. So I think I have a little
yeah.
bit of extra strength.
Mm,
Mhm.
That made sense to me. She's
mm,
literally carrying a divine
Uh,
being in her body. I think she's got a little bit of leverage.
mhm.
mm. Which is actually one
Oh.
of my favorite tropes in fiction. When people get pregnant with like a powerful being, and it makes them different. I think it's an underrated trope.
Mhm.
It was really
That's
good. It
really
was really well
interesting.
done in the first Charmed. I really
Mm,
liked when she was pregnant with Wyatt and things were going absolutely insane. And even when she was pregnant with Chris, he would like orb things around from the womb.
mm.
Imagine you have a
John,
baby and it has telepathy from the womb.
John, what were you gonna say? You were gonna say something.
I was, we have another point yeah, that I love about this film, which is the vibrant colors.
Hmm.
The reds with like all the cult outfits and stuff. Like I really love how much this film was just let it be vibrant and very like neon red and not like try to like make it darker like a lot of things would have done on
See,
Mm,
now I think you're using a little bit of the wrong terminology because it was vibrant, but it was also dark. It was just not muted. It was
yeah
saturated,
yeah I mean
but
like
not
muted
bright. Like I
yeah
get what
like
you
there's
mean.
a
But
but
as a color grading person, I'm like the what I loved about the color grading
yeah
was it was
sat
really saturated and
yeah
vibrant
saturated is what I mean
while
yeah
also having like really good contrast and
yeah
darkness, like the blacks and the shadows. I have weed on my fingers.
okay I was wondering I'm
This
like
is what it looks like when I get weed all over my fingers.
I was like
But like
oh I'm the one dressed up as Shrek here. Here, it's
I'm
weird.
turning
Somehow
green.
over there, you're
Isn't this
turning
your
green.
wildest dream?
Oh man.
No, no, I'm grinding weed with my
No
hands
worries.
right now.
Yeah.
Um,
Um.
but yeah, I think it's interesting.
mhm. No, I I also just like we have like I love like all of the fun that he had with this film. Like the Kildo Eldo is like
Yeah.
so
It's so that's so,
it's so ridiculous, but like I love the fact that nobody is acting like this is a ridiculous situation. They're all
except for
acting
Sam.
serious. Seriously, but I mean, like everyone's acting is straight acting.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not them being like this is all so ridiculous and goofy.
Yeah, she doesn't
Like
laugh. Yeah, even Sam, who's like, "What the fuck is that?" She doesn't laugh. She's like, "Who
yeah,
are you
no,
people? Why do you have
like
that? What is that?" She's like
you know,
horrified. She's like, "Are you fucking freaks?"
You know what's funny?
oh,
I think.
what were you gonna say?
Oh no. You can go first.
Oh, I was going to bring up how like with like talking about how actors are just, like playing things very straight. They like Rebecca and multiple times in this movie fingers a bunch of flesh. As
Why did? Oh my god.
I cannot imagine like be able to keep a straight face doing those scenes.
The most
Well,
insane part is the thing that Foley is just like modeled after a protruding cervix, and I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck is happening?
you know, it's
It
funny.
was
One of
really
the
cool practical effects. Yes, Brayden?
no, you know, it's funny. I remember when Ripley, who couldn't be here, but who's like Ripley's the number one Satanic Panic fan. I remember
Hmm.
one of the funniest posts about Satanic Panic. They made a list of the things they love the most about it. And one of the things they put on the list is Rebecca Romaine fingering a demon heart for like two
Yeah.
minutes. No, 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 no. But
Yeah.
like,
Uh,
It's like, why?
and and she was definitely getting turned on by
Yeah.
doing that, which is so wild.
She's canonically bisexual for sure.
Oh yeah. I feel like every character in this is other than maybe
Yeah.
Jerry O'Connell's character are
No,
probably
no, he was
bisexual.
no, he was bisexual. He's definitely a bottom. Let's be honest.
Well, even look at what
He
he's
was
wearing.
vaping inside. He's a bottom.
Well, look at what Jerry O'Connor was like wearing. He wasn't really dressed like a typical straight man. He has a bunch of like blue pants and like
They
a
were,
white
yeah,
shirt.
they were kind of like a bisexual like power couple that if they weren't Satanists, they would probably be like trying to pick people up at the local bar.
Mhm.
But hey, maybe they do
Mhm.
that for those Satanist reasons.
But Danica is definitely the dom in the relationship.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Which is Rebecca Romijn's entire filmography. Really, all our characters.
Yeah. No, I don't think she's ever played a submissive role in her life. I'm not certain.
Oh,
I'm not. I would love to have someone like present this that evidence to me of the contrary. But otherwise, I'll assume
Oh.
no. But if anyone has visual evidence otherwise, send it to my DMs.
Oh, Brayden, there was something you were gonna bring up before I talked about Rebecca Roms and fingering stuff.
Oh,
What were you going to bring up?
oh, no. One of the things I love about the film, because we were talking about the kill though, and we were talking about Sam's reaction and all this stuff. Because I remember when Ripley first showed me this movie last year, it was in November. They showed it to me and another friend of ours, Caitlin, and they said, "Okay, I'm not going to explain anything about this premise to you. I'm just going to play this film for you as is."
An ideal situation.
No. So I'm watching the film, and I'm like, so of course, it's a POV, Halloween style POV, Michael
Mhm.
Myers POV of Rebecca coming home, discovering her teenage daughter in the act of having sex. And I'm like, oh, that's an awkward situation. I can't see why a parent gets mad. Then the shoving into the wall, then chasing down the guy and killing him, right? Then they cut away to a terrible song about Australia. Then this,
It's a
and then
great cut.
then this piece of girl's daily routine of like comedic hijinks, and I'm thinking, oh, it's
Huh?
just a comedy,
So
right?
my mom's
Keep going.
I don't know, it's just comedy of all this various stuff, right? And when the cold stuff starts, there's a moment you're like, okay, maybe Sam just went to a terrible neighborhood. There's no real bizarre element. Like you just think these people are just weird, but not. We don't believe there's any supernatural element, not yet, right? But what I love about that scene leading up to the kill though, is that when Sam comes in and she's with the first sister, and she's trying to be normal, like a normal babysitter. There's a moment you think, oh, good, she has an ally, she has help. Maybe this person will be her friend and help her to the very end of the film. Then the soda poison thing didn't take effect, right? And she's coming up the stairs, and then when the sister girlfriend comes in, her first word says, "What's up, babe?" And then you fucking see the kill though. No, I think you're curious to me. I think, but
Sister girlfriend is wild,
no,
but it's,
right,
it's
right.
true. You're you're
No, no,
you're correct.
no. Especially when she says, "What's going on, babe?" And she has it, right? And she has it right there, and you're like, "Oh, it's her girlfriend." But then the next line is, "Shut her, sis." From the
Yeah, it's
other
like,
one.
wait,
But
hold
no.
on.
But like, what kills me is that there's a moment because again, it's the kill though is iconic, right? But the fact that you're like, okay, did you pay someone to make that for you, or did you just buy it? They already made it.
They have one guy on this neighborhood street who's really good at manufacturing shit like this, I think.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's his
Right.
hobby.
And then, of course, even how they bring back Judy, or after the sisters die, and then she goes to the bedroom and she sees was a very like dark image, and then of course
Yeah.
you're like, who the fuck? And then of course you see Judy's face, and it's like, oh, it's the girl from the opening. She's not dead, not yet. And then, of
Okay, but
course,
I want to say something about the opening real quick. I think it's really interesting because they do kind of give you at first you're like, oh, the parent or whoever is upset because it's probably a teenage girl having sex with someone or even if it's not like people get upset when their daughters have sex in general because like the whole you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I thought we were coming at it from a puritanical angle when I first watched it, and I was like, wow, you must be really puritanical if you're willing to kill this guy for having sex with your daughter. But like, so like you think it's from the angle of like, how dare you have sex with my daughter, and you know what I mean? From like a protective, angle. But like then later in the movie, you realize, oh no, The Pav is her getting mad because her daughter's no longer a virgin and it can no longer be the human sacrifice.
Mhm.
And also nothing great. Obviously, a great line of dialogue. That's also wonderful for Shannon. Judy's first line of dialogue when she's talking to Rebecca
I
Romaine
love
slash
it. I
Elsie.
wrote it down in my notes.
When she's like, "Sorry, mom, I didn't want to do it. I'm sorry." And then the shove. And at first she's like, "Oh, I didn't want to do it." And you're like, "What, sex?" And then like, I don't even realize, "Oh no, the sacrifice." And
Yeah,
like that's
yeah.
Uh,
and then
oh.
even like the other supernatural element that's actually kind of early on. That it's kind of because when the guy is running away, who was clearly a neighbor of this cult, who's probably involved in all this, right? He's running away, then he trips, and then he just starts screaming, even though nothing's actually happening to him, nothing physically is happening to him, to
He
our
knows he's
knowledge. But
screwed.
yeah, right. But and then of course, you know, and then it cuts away to the logo of Satanic Panic, right? But the fact what I
Great little
love about
intro, by the way.
oh yeah, great opening. But what I love
Mhm.
about it is that like you can see. I don't know. I mean, obviously we cut away, but you can see the moment Rebecca Romaine's character is about to perform like some type of death spell or rip out his heart
Yeah.
right before it cuts away, and which I really like a lot because it's a fun cutaway and it also balances the budget
Wait a
well.
minute. That was probably one of the hearts she had in the Ziploc bags. Because she just had a bunch of human hearts in a bag. One of them was
Yeah,
probably that guy's. Just because, like,
Oh.
yeah.
it was convenient.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whenever there was anyone she was just killing for that reason, she probably was like, and I will take your organs, thank
Yeah.
you.
Mm,
One thing I find I'm interesting. So um the soul which that'd be what she figured looked like a cervix. Um, she sent that after them. But then I assumed as it was happening that that was in the sheet. But they brought up later that was
The
actually
Hexen cloak.
a hexing cloak. And that's why it was going on. It wasn't actually so, which makes me wonder where did the soul go?
I
That
think
doesn't seem
that
like
the misconception, I think, because again, the crazy thing is that a lot of the magic was actually really accurate to the actual occult, and so that was not an attack dog. That was just the search dog. That was just to find where they are. The Hexen cloak was the attack dog. Do you understand?
Okay, but they didn't find it through the through find them through that.
I
They
this isn't
found
a,
him through that them call Judy calling her on the phone.
I have I have a suspicion that this is like part of the movie that was probably cut. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? That there was
I guess
probably
so.
gonna be something in this area where like the thing did find them, and then like they cut it and just like you know what I mean? But the intention she had was to send that out to find them. I don't think it was it was pretty
you,
small. It's not. I don't
you know,
think it was supposed to lead the other demonic
Yeah,
entities
makes
to
sense.
them.
Makes sense.
it's funny. There's one of the a great moment of Chekhov's gun, a bit of foreshadowing that pays off later is when when Judy's putting on the salt and
Yeah.
put up the force field, and she's
Oh, we
like,
were
"Oh, we can't
talking
go
about
outside."
this.
Yeah. So she's like, "We can't go outside." It's like, why? Because all the things they can send that can walk outside, and of course, there's a big payoff to that with the tree demon, which I love
Mhm.
because it's a great costume and it's a great moment where Sam, gets
It
surrounded by it.
reminds me of the scariest part of the Wizard of Oz that a lot of kids like have nightmares about, like historically, the part where all the apple trees are fucking with her. Like that always scared me as a kid. The idea of the
Mhm,
trees coming to life and messing with me. So it's like they like evoked that in that scene.
mhm. Oh yeah, and also what I love about that is I guess because like whenever I see earthly objects or like guns affect demons, it is both scary and funny. So when
Yeah,
Judy
that was a good bit.
just pulls a headshot on a tree, it's just
Mhm.
it's
I
it's
wanna
just
I kind of want to clip that
Like
part and post it out of
I
context.
have to,
go ahead.
I have expected in that moment that it was going to be revealed that that was like an actual person in there, and that
Like a
there would
trick or
just be
treater.
blood coming down the tree's face.
That would have been a good bit. It was just some guy.
Oh
He,
man.
it was Peeta from the Hunger Games movies. He was just in disguise. He's like, I was trying to help.
That's a funny thing. Yeah, they at the end, and we get the one actual scene of like full nudity in the film. None of the actual characters are nude. It's only the
It's
extras.
just some random ass people. But hey, they
It's
were so
just the
hot.
extras. Which kind of saddens me because I do wish we could have gotten to see our main three women of Sam, Judy, and Danica
Well,
as
what's
boobs,
funny
but
is, well, what's okay. Well, I guess the reason why I wasn't disappointed is that when it comes to Rebecca Romaine, she has done nude work modeling professionally outside of film. I think she's done it in film, maybe. But another thing, what's funny? When it comes to the ritual at the end, that last bit, one thing that that is both kind of alarming and cool is when the demon starts walking in to do, of course, what it does to Sam. But like when he just shows up, like from behind all the extras in full costume, it's a great costume. And I'm thinking to myself, how long has that motherfucker been there, or did he just show up?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite details in like that part of the movie where like Judy is setting up the house that they're in the beginning to like be protected. It sets up a lot of stuff because it sets up that stuff with like the trees, but also remember she's saying, "Oh, the salt will keep out anything that like walks, crawls, like moves along the ground." The hexen cloak gets in because it flies. It doesn't give a
No,
fuck.
no, that no, we saw the reason why that got in, and they showed a scene. The window was partially open, and
Mhm.
wind blew the salt away.
Oh yeah, yeah, and no, but like that also then that means that makes sense because I don't think I remember that I don't and I remember I don't think it blew like all of the salt away, but like made a enough of a gap. And like we talked about later in the
Mhm,
movie, you don't need every single speck of salt,
mhm.
you just need it to be like not super thick so that it's easier to count the
Oh,
grains because as Judy says, and this is really good setup that I wanted to say for later in the movie, it's not like this is a misconception that supernatural spread that that salt is just like some sort of like natural repellent. You know what I mean? And you can just like put a ring of salt around of
mhm.
any type and it'll like protect you. When in reality, the actual occult history that they're drawing on is the idea that demons are so obsessed that like demons essentially are like obsessive compulsive to like a supernatural degree to where they are compelled to count every single grain of salt that you put in front of them that's in their path, their direct path, before they cross it. They can eventually cross it, but you slow them down with how much you put in front of them. So later in the movie, we have the scene where the lady who's dying, she like breaks the salt barrier um and lets the demon Sam in, but she doesn't like there's still some salt underneath her like where she broke it, but she's made it thin enough that it's easier for the demon to count
Mhm.
and get in faster. You know what I mean? Whereas if she hadn't broken that, it probably wouldn't have gotten in time to actually
Yeah.
save Sam's life.
Mhm,
So she basically, when she did that final fuck you of breaking the barrier just enough, it was like,
mhm.
like making it to where it was just enough time for the demon to count that shit and get in there. The demon was probably like, "You're a
Mhm.
real one. You're a real one." Just racial slur name. We should just call her that racial slur name.
Yeah. Uh,
I've decided.
oh,
And I mean, obviously we can keep talking about the film some more, but like, with Satanic Panic, it's one of those films where like it has a truly fun script in terms of like it keeps leveling up,
Hmm.
and yet and you can tell the director of the film, and the cast and crew, they had so much fun. You can
yeah.
feel it,
Mhm,
and I love the fact that I love low budget films that I use their budget to the potential, like to the max. It feels like they thought about everything, because like even like the props, the effects, and the costuming,
mhm.
and how they use everything felt it felt planned. It felt super planned, and from
Yeah,
what
the first thing I thought when we started the movie last night was like, as I was watching just the intro, I was like, I literally wrote down, I'll show you. The first thing in my notes right here, it says good use of budget.
Mhm.
Mhm.
First thing I wrote down, good use of budget. and good time and amount of pacing. Like it's the perfect length. You know what I mean? And the pacing is tight because of that.
Mm-hmm. And, what were you gonna say?
I didn't want to cut you off, Brayden. I just wanted to say that's the first thing I noticed.
Oh no, you can go, John. I
But I was gonna say is with like me like bringing up like wanting there to be a more nude scenes in the film, more boobs in the film. I like the main reason I'm very happy and willing to say that is because you can tell that they had so much fun on making this. You can tell that
it would have been tonally appropriate.
They would have been happy to do things like that. And that's
sure.
like I'm not. I don't like the idea of women being forced in scenes like that. But if they they want to do things like that, either enjoying themselves, I'm very happy to be like yeah, please more boobs.
And I would say it's also context dependent. Like this is a movie where that's the tone. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
it would have fit. Whereas if you were watching like another movie where that was absolutely not the tone and you were like more boobs, people would be like, "Can you be normal? Relax."
I think
But this is the type of movie where you would be like nudity. I would like some more.
It's weird to me, honestly, with like the way that Hollywood is kind of now with nudity is. I feel like it makes more sense to have nudity in films like this, where it's this fun tone on the. You can tell everyone is enjoying themselves on set.
Just chewing scenery.
But it seems like nowadays, most of the time, nudity in films is only done if it's a super or serious, depressing film, which I cannot imagine any actor being like, "I enjoy doing a nude scene in a sign like that."
Well,
it's just there's a time and a place, and I was just gonna say like in a movie like this, it's like that would make sense to ask for this little bit more nudity. Whereas like if you were watching like Clifford and the Big Red Dog, and you were like my review is not enough boobs, people would be like, "What are you talking about?" But like I don't agree.
I don't need to see the Clifford the Big Red Dog's big red rockets. I don't need that.
Speak for yourself.
But like in regards to.
One particular scene that I in this that I was very much like wish we got started with is why did she not need to have it drawn on her boobs on her crotch in that scene where she's trying to draw they have to draw those symbols on her.
It seems like it was about an area of like coverage, you know what I mean? And like once you got it over certain sections of the body, you were sealed. It seemed like, but like they could have gone farther with that.
That's what where I would like would probably like most be like let's add something like that there, which like. I talked tonight about like I think it would be so much fun to have like a smutty fan fiction with this film. I think what I would if I were to or ever write something like that, what I would try to do is I would have that actually starts from that scene.
I agree. What were you going to say, Brayden?
Yeah.
No. When in regards to, I was talking about this. Ron talking about nudity real quick. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk, but like in regards to nudity, I guess you said like, oh, it's only done in depressing movies and stuff.
Well, it's not only, but like it seems like most of the mainstream time it's films.
Well, no. Wait a second. Most of the nudity I've seen for decades to now has still always been just horror films. Like there are more nudity in horror films than there are in say R-rated action films. You know what I mean? Like you can like there are some R-rated action films that have nudity, but you can find more nudity in a horror movie of various different types rather than an action film, a mainstream action. You know what I mean? But when regards to like depressing, serious films, there are some art house films that have nudity. There are some actors who rather do nudity for a TV show than a film, which I've noticed more as a trend because of no, because like I've seen there are more sex scenes in TV shows than there are in film now because of the way certain things have gone down. But also, there are more intimacy coordinators in TV than there are in film because there's a union budget.
I I
which
really
which
think that it should be legally required for there to be intimacy coordinators on every set.
yeah. But like even like now independent, like there were some stories recently where like some movies that have $100 million that have sex scenes, and these are like independent productions outside of Hollywood with famous actors, and some of them will go, there is no coordinator. It's like what? No one paid for one. They just
Mhm.
told us to wing it, and that happens a lot.
And
But
then there's also
I've
this also happens and is some actors who are like refuse to have intimacy coordinators because it messes with the craft which is like
it depends
okay,
on
but what
it. De-
what about your co-star? Your co-star needs to be comfortable.
okay, no, no,
Whether
listen. I
you
remember.
whether you're okay with it or not, your co-star needs to be comfortable.
No, wait a second. There's so many complicated factors with that because there are many times where some male actors are like, I want to do nudity out of respect for my female co-star being naked, but then the producers would tell me not to get naked because they would have to pay me and my agent more and they can't afford
Hmm.
it. So stuff like that happens a lot. And there are many times where no one's thinking about this. But as regards to how Satanic Panic handles nudity and sexual stuff, because, it handles a lot very well in ways that don't feel disrespectful to the characters or even to the story. I think it doesn't fetishize. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't insult the characters. I think with the way it handles nudity. So like that alone is a rare thing because there are many times you could watch a movie or show with a lot of nudity and you could be like, I don't know, everyone's on board. You can look at them visually and be like, some feel off, you know.
Yeah.
But with Satanic Panic, it doesn't do that.
Hmm.
There's something else I wanted to talk about earlier. Trying to remember. Mm,
Oh, 420. Sorry, I just realized I have 1,420 followers, and I'm like, the lead number,
Oh my
sick.
god.
But I agree. Like, going back to the point about use of their budgets, the locations. You said Dallas, Texas. Is that what you wanted to talk about earlier? Because like we were discussing that this was
oh
all
yeah,
filmed
yeah,
in
that's right.
Dallas, Texas. I don't hear a lot about
Yeah,
a
that's
lot of
right.
stuff filming in Dallas, I think.
Yeah,
No, 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 yeah,
that's
that's right. I
everybody's
want to talk
bragging.
about. No, no, that's right. I want to talk about this. We were talking about this earlier before we recorded, but like I wanted to bring this up. You're right. Thank you for reminding me. But like,
Nailed it.
I've never because when I was watching the film, I'll be honest, I was trying to figure out where the hell this was filmed
Yeah, I
because
also was like, where is this?
Mhm.
I couldn't see because even when I found out it was filmed in Dallas, Texas, I was like, really, I don't see any landmarks. And I don't
Mhm.
see any. And I'm like, oh, I think that's
It
intentional. They
must
wanted
it
to.
must be like a suburb, which makes like a rich
Mhm.
suburb, which makes sense for the film.
Yeah, but there's also okay, I sometimes when I watch certain movies and TV shows and they don't mention the state or the city or the real location, there's a sense of eeriness, but also a sense of like timelessness because though they mention the fact that she's in America, that one Sam frat boy talks about the code of Sam's in America, so we know it's an American story. But like, there's
Mhm.
a moment where I'm like, I can't tell what state this is, except for maybe the grass. Like the grass and the trees tell me this isn't. This isn't like there's not many places in Vegas that
I
do
knew
that. You know
it
what I mean?
wasn't west. I knew it wasn't West Coast, and I knew it wasn't
Yes, yeah,
North. I knew it was like
Mhm.
more Southern,
in
but
the
I
middle.
couldn't. But I originally thought, is this just a suburb of Hollywood or Los Angeles I've never seen filmed in before? But
Mm,
Dallas, Texas, like that makes sense. And again, and then my second thought was like, is this in Louisiana? Because there's a lot of stuff that's
mm.
filmed in Louisiana, but I don't hear about as much
I
stuff
will.
filming in Texas. Do you know of anything else that's filmed in Dallas?
Oh no, no, no. I remember because of Robert Rodriguez. He's an Austin, Texas boy.
Mm,
When Robert
yeah.
Rodriguez became a big mega filmmaker, he was constantly trying to convince Hollywood make Austin a second Hollywood. Now Austin is hold for film festivals, and there are people who do film in Austin for other places. And even like Robert Rodriguez, when he filmed his film The Faculty, even though it's set in LA, he filmed it entirely in Austin. And a lot of people said you can tell. There's a moment you can tell exactly when it's Austin and when it tries to be Los Angeles. But but
I
Austin,
imagine the
Texas,
weather's similar, but nothing
yeah,
else.
yeah, yeah. No, but like Austin, Texas is mostly used for the film side of things. But Dallas, Texas, now though Dallas is used for TV shows, including Dallas
Mm.
and several other places,
Oh,
and
there.
some
Yeah,
like
I think I have heard of that.
no, yeah, no, like Dallas was only really used for like things set in Dallas or like in Texas, like Walker, Texas Ranger, stuff like that, whatever. But like, uh, but with Dallas itself, it's never been a major filming thing. But I wonder, we have to check with the crew later. But I wonder if a lot of the producers, I mean,
I
obviously, I
like the
think,
look. I think more stuff
oh
should
no,
film in this area. It looks cool.
I don't know for sure. No, I completely agree. But a part of me does wonder if like somebody had a personal attachment to to Dallas in regards to
I
filming it.
also assume that. That's like when we watched We're All Gonna Die, the movie, and then they suddenly went to like literally the Palouse outside of Spokane, and I was like, nobody knows about the Palouse who isn't from Eastern Washington. And
Mhm.
then I found out that Kenny has lived in Spokane, and I was like, okay,
Mm,
knew it.
I could imagine like imagine Rebecca Romijn and Jerry O'Connell could probably live in Texas, and maybe that's why
what's funny?
it's set there.
That's a,
Since they are the biggest stars of the film, and they're also real life husband and wife.
what's funny? There's something that. Thank you for bringing it up. There's actually another fact I wanted to mention. According to the some of the this project, Satanic Panic was first announced in 2015, right? And filming, like, it went through a bunch of stuff, but like filming itself didn't go through until 2018, right? But this is the strange part. Rebecca was cast in October of 2018, like a month before filming. So it seems like the other people were cast first, like because it was on hold, and then things got back on track in June of 2018. Then they started going to pre-production, all this other stuff, and then they
Brayden,
got
do you know when that would have been? Right after the
right after that.
Librarians was officially canceled.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why she was the last to officially sign up because she probably wasn't sure because there was a few months like half a year where we were like trying to get the show renewed and they were trying to get the show renewed with TNT until TNT finally said no for officially,
Mm.
and that would have been then I think.
So that
I
makes it.
just
Well,
I just put that together when you said that. I'm like that
yeah.
October of that year that would have been when she knew she did not have a job anymore in that show.
Because that makes me wonder if because sometimes because Jerry O'Connell and when Jerry O'Connell was voicing Superman in a bunch of direct to animated DC movies, he would get jobs for Rebecca in that. So part of me wonders if the fact that Rebecca was the last one to be cast, I wonder if he was already going to be in the film as just a guy, or if she got him involved. You know what I mean? Could be one of those things. But like, yeah, but apparently, according to a lot of the news about the development of the film, they keep saying that Rebecca was the last one cast. So part of me wonders who else they were just probably like, we need to get someone who can pull off Danica. We gotta save the casting
Mm.
for that later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense like that the she being one of the last people cast, not just because like the character of Danica being so important to be this big force, but also just as I said, because like her and Jerry O'Connell are
Hmm.
definitely the biggest actors out of this cast. As
Hmm.
they're the most recognizable people in this.
Well, and also,
Oh,
I
the actress
The
playing
main girl
Judy,
is recognizable, I think. I've
is
seen her
she?
in stuff.
She's
no,
I
so
well, not
she's
the not
not been in much stuff actually. The main actress, but uh, the actress who plays Judy
yes,
was a little bit recognizable. Oh,
she was in
she'd been in Shameless, and she'd been
mm,
and she'd
Happy
also
Death Day.
been in Happy Death Day. Yeah,
Yeah, which
I
was
think that
Happy
the
Death.
main girl just looks like a lot of other actresses, I guess.
No, let me double check because I knew besides Rebecca and Jerry, the actress who played the G word. Besides them, I didn't really recognize. I mean,
Oh
but
yeah, the racial slur lady, she's a popular actress too, in television.
yeah, I've
yeah,
definitely seen
Arden
her
Min.
and stuff up before as
Okay,
well.
okay, so the actress who played the G word lady, Arden Mirren, I know her from Mad TV and Key and Peele, and she also did. What she did?
She's a comedian.
Mhm.
comedian
Oh yeah,
actress.
she was in Bubble Boy, which I saw her in. She was in Evan Almighty. She was in a bunch of comedies that
Oh,
ended.
I
But
remember her in Evan Almighty. She was good in this
yeah,
too. She played a good like bitch.
and oh, that's interesting. Haley, the actress playing Sam is Haley Griffin. I'm trying to pull up her IMDb
Mhm.
because I want to see what else she has done because this might be her first role. That's why I
She's
want to double
not
check.
she's not been in much. It's not her first role, but she's definitely like
Okay, so
uh
I
done a lot before
we're
this.
gonna want to wrap this up sooner rather than later because I do have to go and we don't want this to be
Makes
too
sense.
long.
No,
So I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
we've had a good discussion, but like again, like I want to circle back to like the one of the main things I think thematically is interesting in this movie, and that is like there's this overall feeling of this patriarchal
yeah.
rape culture death cult where like it's really like it feels like it's speaking a lot to like the rape culture in society of how like Duncan feels obligated for her to put out because he like helped her get a job. He's like the Duncan in the beginning of the movie is like the nice guy who like is super invasive and like asserts and calls himself her boyfriend and wants to like manipulate her into having sex with him just because he was nice. You know what I mean? Or like to make and is trying to like make her feel guilty so she'll like have sex with him, which is like again part of rape culture because it's like trying to coerce someone into consenting when they wouldn't actually want to. And so you have that asshole, and then you have like the kind of like he means well, but the is Keem his name? Like the other the black
yeah,
guy who was the
not really sure.
other
Oh,
I
the
don't remember if he
driver.
even had a
Yeah.
name, to be honest. Yeah.
He meant well, but like he started like basically it's her first day and he starts telling a very detailed sex story to her unprompted.
mm,
And like he didn't like
Which
obviously which is also part of like, the general like, patriarchal like, rape culture problems of like even if you don't mean to like like crossing someone else's boundaries like is still not great even if you didn't intend to. Like
mm,
you can cross someone's boundaries and make them uncomfortable unintentionally is kind of what was going on with him, I think, because he seems like a nice guy. I think he just was
like
not he was being too
which
casual with someone he just met.
I think like that scene is like interesting as well. Like a as he was saying what he was saying in that scene is he's gone to this exact house before for that or that Sam goes to who
Mhm.
yes.
I guess just as the night that he went, they happened to not be doing a sacrifice; they were just having an orgy,
Yeah. They no, but they probably were doing a lot. You know what I mean?
and
Um,
which he would have definitely he died if they were doing a sacrifice because he literally said himself like he was a virgin before that.
oh, but it's interesting because that kind of even though that's was like a story, she's like, okay, well, it does plant the idea in her head that
To go
maybe
and get a tip.
if she goes in and talks to people, they'll actually give her a tip. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
she's planning to go in and fuck anyone, but the idea
Yeah,
of
I
going in
definitely don't think that's
but the
good.
idea of even just going in again and like having to even to interact at all was
Mm-hmm.
planted in her mind by that conversation, I think.
Yeah, especially when he says, they didn't give me no tip, but they just let me come in and party with them.
Yeah, I think, and then he left with money after he had like he basically, even though he was like saying it in a sexual way, his story that he laid out in logistical terms, he didn't get a tip at the door. He went inside and interacted with them like human beings on a more equal level. They gave him money when he left. So that's what she's thinking, even if it's not in a sexual, angle. She's like, okay, maybe if I go talk to them, someone will give me at least $5. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe not 35 like he got for begging everybody, but at least some pocket change is what she's probably hoping
Mm-hmm.
for. So I you can see, and especially and like I said, I think I think that her Vespa not starting immediately. I think she knew, like based on her behavior in the rest of the movie, that if she went back to it and kept trying, that it would eventually start. She probably knows that it does that,
Like
but she
I
used
like
it as an excuse to go back in.
when I first saw that scene, I assumed it was that her Vespa was out of gas, and that was why it was not starting. And so
I don't
it
think
was
it's that.
always weird. It was weird to me at first when like at the end of the film she
No.
actually was able to get on it, but like as I've watched it more, it makes more sense. It's it just was having trouble starting. I
But
wasn't.
and like I know a lot about like mechanics and stuff like
Mhm.
that. You would not even be able to make that like false start sound if it didn't have
Mhm.
gas. There would be nothing. That's the sign that the start
Mhm.
plug is not sparking properly. There's an
Yeah.
ignition problem of like actually getting the spark. And like this is usually like I was looked at I think I wrote down she needs to change her spark plug in her Vespa. Because I realized it was probably the spark plug, like logistically, that would be causing that, not a lack of gas.
Mhm.
Because I've had
Uh,
to change spark plug
yeah.
plugs multiple times in my life.
Mhm. So I think that's really everything to talk about this film. So I'm gonna wind this down really
Mhm.
quick before I actually end it off. Is there anything either of you would like to promote from just before ending it off, like maybe even just simply an edit on your pages.
Just follow me at Lit Mason Edits on like Instagram and YouTube, and then at Charlisa with two R's on Twitter, and then Lit of the Round Table. Lit's Round Table on Twitter is our account for our general discussion podcast group that we have for librarians that I
Mhm.
need to post more content for.
Okay. I have a bunch of social media, but my Twitter is where I'm most active. Brayden Silva. It's spelled like my name. Most of my name is spelled the same mostly everywhere. Do TikTok, Blue Sky, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, Tumblr. You can find me easily. I have the same profile pic and everywhere. But on Twitter, I like to post writing now and then in the future. I have a YouTube channel where I post backups of the edits I post to Twitter and
Haven't
stuff.
you made a Satanic Panic edit?
I have, yeah. I actually made a Satanic Panic as a gift from my friend Ripley. It was a
I
birthday
need to make
gift
one.
for early this year. So like, if you ever look up, yeah, you can see it on my YouTube channel, but you can also see it on my Twitter. Yeah, my Satanic Panic edit, and I actually include more footage of that in the future. There's a anniversary gift edit in a few weeks that has Satanic Panic scenes in it for
Makes
fun
sense.
Nice.
as a gift for it's a gift for Kira, Ripley, Caitlin, and Gray.
Mhm.
It's a fun
Nice.
anniversary thing. There's some future writing I'm going to post in the future and some videos I'm going to work on some more with. And yeah, follow me on Twitter and YouTube if you're interested. You know,
Hell yeah. Everyone check out both Kira and Brayden and all the social medias and all their projects. And thank you everyone for listening to this. And if you like to see anyone else, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on those films, so please let me know. If you'd like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more game analysis from me coming, so keep on the lookout. See you as your host, Smash Trivia John, signing off.